Raquel, I think it's the first ever town hall meeting like this, where we have experts, we have panelists to talk to us about some really important subjects. And let me just say, one of the reasons that I'm so thrilled is because 55 years ago, take a deep breath, everybody. I'm about to turn 80. So 55 years ago, I was a community organizer. I was 25 years old, and I worked in the two places in Los Angeles. One was East Los Angeles, where I was tutored by my mentor, Juan Acevedo, having to do with how you get people together to organize and look after their communities. And then also in Venice, California, which was at that time called the Drug Center by the Sea, and probably still is. But in my heart, I've always had a place for those of us and those of you now who are change makers in the community. You know, granted, 55 years ago, things were not as complicated as they are today. You know, we didn't have email, we didn't have computers. You know, if you wanted to get hold of somebody, you picked up something called a telephone and dialed. But if you really needed to get a hold of somebody for an urgent message, you would send something called a telegram.
You're making stuff up, Dr. Maria.
Pardon?
You're making stuff up now.
Yeah, I am. But just the bottom line is this. Things were different then. Change makers today face a much different landscape. Problems are magnified tenfold. And so it's with a special place in my heart that I personally welcome people at ACE who are part of the change-making community. And it's amazing. You know, as I look back over the years and I see what people are up to now, I have such pride in them. And so without further ado, I want to turn this over to Raquel because we have some wonderful panelists who are going to talk to us. And some of them I haven't seen for a long time. So I welcome you all. And thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dr. Maria. And welcome, everybody. I'm so grateful to have all of you here. And one of the reasons why I was so excited to share these amazing panel members with you is because they have done so much. Each one of them guided me on my own journey. 7 years ago, I stepped into the doors of ACE, and my life was forever changed because I found that there was a home for me, that there was a place where I could be myself as a change maker, but be an even better version of myself. That up until arriving at ACE, I had been showing up to the work that I was here to do in a way that was fraught and chronically frustrated. And I, you know, more than once probably spiraled out and was less effective than I wanted to be and reached fewer people than I wanted to. And through what I'd learned and experienced at ACE, thanks to the folks that are here, I've been able to be more consistent about showing up the way I'd most love to. And I thank each one of the folks on our panel for all the ways they've supported me in my journey. And I am so looking forward to the ways that they can support you to see how this work can support you on your journey. So you've already received emails from me in, you know, where I've introduced each person. And so I'm going to take this time to actually allow and support each person to share themselves with you. And so without further ado, I'm going to start off with one of my mentors, Zotobi.
Hi everyone. It's so good to be here and I'm so glad to meet so many of you and see familiar faces. Wow. Um, yeah, so I was a course leader on faculty with ACE for quite a while. Had the privilege of serving as director of communications and went through the ACE coach training program in started in 2011, 2012, finished, and have uh, really had my own life transformed by this work over the last many years. And um, now I'm working in communications with Movement Voter Project, which is an organization that raises money and gives it back out to community organizations that are based in swing states, swing districts that get out the vote and advocate on behalf of the issues that matter most to their community. And I get to, in this work, take what we're doing at Movement Voter Project or MVP and make it sing, make it beautiful, and enroll donors around the country in being a part of it. So that is what I'm up to at the moment. But I'm so glad to be here and be part of this conversation about how whatever it is that we are called to do to make a difference on whatever scale and whatever sphere that we can bring universal principles to how we show up and how we contribute and the kind of the quality of the space that we can create as we do whatever it is that we're doing. So glad to be here, and I'll turn it back to you, Raquel.
And
Thank you, Seth.
Raquel, if I might, for just a moment, a little housekeeping.
Yes.
If when a panelist comes on board, if you want, if you haven't already done so, go to the upper right-hand corner of your screen, look at View, and you can click on Speaker, and so that person becomes front and center when they're speaking to you. And then, of course, you can always turn back to the gallery view when they're finished.
I can
Any
also
questions about
spotlight
that?
each person. Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see, and next up, so many people on my screen. Oh, thank you, Greg. Yes, please. Next up is Salisa.
Good morning, everyone, from Long Beach, California, where it is a little gray outside. I'm Salisa Uriarte Smith, and I started ACE, I think, in 2017, 2018, somewhere along those lines. My memory gets fuzzy sometimes with dates. But my organization is purpose-centered coaching and consulting. And so we are a gender equity nonprofit organization that is focused on supporting women of color, low-income women, women with disabilities, any person who self-identifies as a woman. And so for me, my career has focused on gender equity, whether working for Planned Parenthood, with health equity, NARAL, Pro-Choice America. I've worked for numerous progressive organizations throughout California and nationally. So I wanted to take that work with women with something that changed my life, not only ACE, but coaching in general, and share it with women who don't have the same access to services, opportunities, really just to more than level the playing field. And so for me, that was really starting purpose-centered coaching and consulting. And consulting is how I make my money right now. You know, as a nonprofit, we're pretty plucky, and I do have a fundraising background, which is incredibly supportive with this work. But it really is a privilege to be able to coach women of color and other women who have been left out of the system. And that is truly where my heart is. And I get a lot of joy out of that. So looking forward to connecting with you all in this next hour or so. And I'm going to drop my email into the chat in case I can ever be of support to y'all. Raquel.
Thank you, Salisa. So wonderful to have you with us. The next person I'd love to introduce to you is Mazin Jamal.
Hey everyone, so glad to be with you. Glad to be in the ontological space, ontological hot tub. It's been a minute since I've seen some of your faces, and hello to the new folks. Yeah, my name is Mazin Jamal. I'm based out of Oakland, California, but I'm currently in Cairo, Egypt. I am an artist, a community organizer, and entrepreneur is a word that I think accurately describes, because I just do various things, and the goal is to bring more value to people. But I created an organization called Holistic Underground 9 and something years ago. And actually me and like pretty much the whole team came into ACE, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years ago. I'm not that good at math, but we 7 years ago. Okay. So we came into ACE, you know, with the hotheads, and, you know, we're all change makers, and we had our opinions about things. And frankly, you know, we really got, we got our structures of knowing shown to us, and we got support in dismantling them in a very, very powerful way. And it was truly life-changing. And I think that this work is so helpful in supporting those of us who want to create change, to be able to really rise up to our own standards of integrity, and have that level of self-accountability that is in a loving and gentle way, you know, that really allows us to experience the coherence we want to. And I also did the, I forgot what it's called, what the acronym is now, but the Licensed Academy Trainer, or whatever version of that is. Okay,
Yes,
great. Yeah.
yes.
And it's been really, really amazing to get to share these tools with a lot of different movements that I've had the opportunity to work with as a coach, as a consultant. Malaysia, they got the green lens. Sudan, they got the green lens. Chile, Mexico, like we out here, you know, spreading the good stuff that's coming out of ACE. So really grateful to be part of this. And I'll just say one last thing is I've had the privilege, you know, even with some of folks over here, you know, I've collaborated in this process, especially Maria providing a lot of great mentorship, bring the ACE tools into the context of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and find like a ontological approach to that work too. And that's been beautiful as well. So glad to be with you all. Thanks for having me.
So delighted you could be here with us. And thank you. You're in Cairo doing some really important work, and that you made the time for us is truly felt. Thank you, Seth.
Got it.
Next up is Rose Slam Johnson. Slam.
Hello. My heart gets to flutter a little bit being in front of all of you, being with so many. I can actually feel it. In 2018 I met Zoe. Whoa, it's like, can you hear it? Can you all hear it as I'm talking? I can feel my heart. I met Zoe maybe a little bit earlier than that, but I did Give Yourself to Love, which is a course that Zoe doesn't do anymore, but it totally like opened my heart beyond what I thought was possible. Got to navigate a bunch of different transitions, transformations. And then I was present 2020 for the last in-person 4-day module that we were all sitting like 6 inches away, further away than usual, and not touching. That was our approach to dealing with the looming pandemic. And I wasn't planning on becoming a coach. I thought that was a terrible term to ever dare call myself. How could I be so, like daring to be willing to be audacious to be a coach? And then the world started shutting down in a very unfamiliar way. And I found myself equipped with tools that I had never experienced before. And I had done a lot of self-development and personal growth and before ACE. The way that I was able to navigate the pandemic and be with people empowered me, gave me the confidence, and in some ways let me actually respond to the clear path of becoming a coach. And so I've been coaching since then, at first, to whoever would go for it. And now I've kind of focused my attention on queer small business owners. The folks that I work with are, they're either worried that they're not queer enough to be there, or that they're not small business owner enough. And what I found is that, the people that come and hang out are sitting with the same thing that I've sat with around enoughness and around, can I do this? Can I be a part of this? Do I have what it takes? And what I have found from my seat, and have had the honor and privilege to sit with people as they dare to accept themselves for who they are, and bring along the pain and suffering that they might have experienced that at first felt like a detriment, but as we work together becomes to be the stone that one sharpens their knife on. And so really, seeing people step into their desire, their wholeness, who they are, has been the way that I can only imagine change coming forth, is really having people be able to show up and say yes to whatever their yes is in a way that I think makes a difference. So honored to be here with you all. So excited for however you are connected with ACE, and such an honor to be sitting on a panel with some people who have been role models and inspiration for me this whole time. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Slam. And I love you speaking to showing for this work as all of ourselves. That conversation of not being enough and not being able to be all of us as we're doing these great things in the world. I'm glad you're here with us. Next, we've got Seth Bush.
Hey. Wow, I just got pinned. I'm gonna put myself back on gallery view, just myself, because I want to see all of your brilliant faces and names. I recognize a few of your names, like Lorna, hi Lorna, and Temple, and Penelope, and there are some others, and there are a lot of names here that I don't recognize. And why that feels so special to me is it means there are so many people out there in the ACE world bringing these perspectives, these tools, this support out into the world beyond my own sphere of awareness of it. And if you're here and interested in a Changemaker panel, it means there's at least some part of you who is dedicated to serving changemakers. And if there's 42 of you here, there's at least 3 times this many who are also interested, which how cool is that? When I started my coaching work, it's almost been a decade. I did my first ACE course back when it was the Thriving Changemaker Summit that Zoe led back in 2014. And out of that formed a scrappy, but I think pretty badass collective of coaches called the Radical Support Collective. Climate justice organizers turned coaches, me and Jess Sarante and Anastasia Shemkis and some others have kind of come in and out throughout the days. And when we started, we felt like the only ones doing like really dedicated coaching for social change leaders, especially in the climate justice space. And we went through the LAT program, becoming licensed academy trainers, doing trainings, programs. And through the years, we've seen more and more coaches really coming through ACE, coming into their own as leader coaches for social change leaders. So it's just such a privilege to get to be with you all doing that work, and an honor to get to hopefully share some of my own experience and understanding in hopes that it contributes to you. My work now is I work as the advocacy manager at a nonprofit in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I live, called Bike Pittsburgh. And so I get to take my love for working with community leaders, because I really believe that if we're going to get through the big crises, challenges, moments that we're facing, we're going to have to be able to work together with our neighbors very effectively. And so I'm taking that love for community work, and I get to work with what we call bike and pedestrian advocacy groups in neighborhoods all over the greater Pittsburgh area to be very effective organizers. And I get to bring coaching skills to do that alongside my organizing skills to do that. So it's been a really sweet adventure to go from, working with leaders in the kind of coaching context that I learned specifically at ACE, and now applying these tools in a nonprofit in my day-to-day, and some new to me ways that I'm exploring every day. So it's just such an honor to be here with you all. Thanks for being here too.
Thank you, Seth. And I'm really glad, I'm delighted with the work that you're doing at Bike Pittsburgh. I think there's so many things that you can continue to be sharing with the ACE community about what you're learning, applying these tools in this new context. So, and last and so very not least, Rodney Agnant.
So good to be here with everybody. My name is Rodney Agnant. I am based in Central New York, originally from Brooklyn, New York, and a little bit about my history. I first got to meet Maria and Zoe in August 2016. They had joined a social justice summit that was taking place, and they introduced one of the ontological tools, the monkey mind, and being able to understand how we can move beyond that to be able to make the differences that we want to make. And I was so moved by the time there that I said I needed more. And at the time I was between jobs, I had not found my next job yet. And I said, however late you can register me for one of your courses in the future, please do that. I will make it work. And the rest is history. About 9 months later, I got to do my first course, and then going through both the coaching certification program as well as the licensed academy trainer. So what I've been doing is I've been working at a higher ed institution, Colgate University. It's a school that serves mostly undergraduate students. We have about 3,000 students on campus. And I would say that the work of being a social change maker in an organization, in this case, I find that there are two different components to it. The first component is, here we have a campus of people who are committed to social justice, committed to making a difference with their lives and with their work, and really want to realize their potential. And one of the key questions I get to look at in my work is, how do we make sure everyone has access to these resources that we have at the university? How can we make sure it's an equitable playing field for people to realize their potential, especially our students? The other part is that the work I get to do as director for campus culture and inclusion is not only student focused, it's also focused on our faculty and our staff as well. And what I found is that, having worked on campus for at least 7 years now, when you get a group of people who are committed to making a difference and who bring a different set of perspectives, experiences, lived experiences especially, and ways of wanting to solve a problem, it's natural that something called conflict might arise. And one of the key questions there is, how can we work even better together? That we can bring our different kind of lived experiences and understanding and wisdom, our own answers, as we might say, and use that so we can formulate the solutions that are going to have an impact for each other and for our students. So a lot of my work is almost more entrepreneurial, where I get to do this work of seeing what are the ways that folks are wanting to realize their potential and placing my attention on them, and then seeing any ways I can open up a pathway if there isn't one already, or point out a pathway that they may not have known about before. And then the other piece is, people really want to work even better together. What are the tools that can support them with that? And that's where the ACE tools become incredibly relevant to what we're doing on campus. So I'm excited to get to learn more from the other panelists that are here, and to answer any questions I can about what it's like to do this from a sort of inside perspective when you have an organization that wants to do great work, and natural challenges might arise, but also natural opportunities as well. So thank you so much for having me, and excited to dive in.
Thank you, Rodney. I really appreciate what each of you has already been sharing about your work, because I think it's demonstrating to the group that you're coming to this each from very unique vantage points, but Changemaker nonetheless. And it allows our group as a whole to see how they can start applying what they've been learning with us to their role, their work here in making this world a better place. You know, Rodney said something about how we can live together better. And I think one of the things that keeps coming up for me again and again is we talk about building movements, and building a movement requires people. And so really learning how to communicate across differences, really build bridges, is crucial for us to actually build a movement. Otherwise, we're just we're soloing ourselves, and we're going to be so much less effective than we'd like to be. And it's why each one of the folks on this panel are here, because they've seen that for themselves in all sorts of different ways, and are really showing up to support people to navigate the challenges that we will naturally experience as we're building a movement. So before we start the panel discussion, so I want to let folks know that you noticed in the registration form there was space to ask questions, and so we've harvested a few questions that we're going to focus on during the discussion. If you have other questions, we encourage you to just drop them in the chat. Greg is going to keep an eye on it, and time permitting, then we'll aim to answer some of those as well if we're not already answering it in the conversation. So without further ado, I'd love to go ahead and put our panel members up in the spotlight, and then we'll start off with our first question. So as Greg is setting up the spotlights, question I want to ask the group is, how have the ACE coaching tools and framework supported your work as a change maker? How have the coaching tools and framework at ACE supported you as a change maker?
I can go. I can start if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all.
You know, I'm going to bring up Beth Ann. And early on, I don't think she's here. I think she's on a fabulous trip somewhere. And of course, you know, we all miss her and love her. And, you know, one of the things that it was very early on in my ACE journey, and I needed just a session because I had a political client that was really demanding. And for anybody who's worked in politics, you know, elected officials, candidates are super just demanding in who they are. And so, and it's something that I lived with for way too long, and just got on the phone with her one day, and she's like, "Oh, you're having incoherence." And, you know, we all know that coherence, incoherence, those two really important things in our lives. And that was the moment that I went, oh yes, living this political lifestyle for the last, at that point, I think probably like 22 years, it just was all incoherent at that point. And so in terms of like the tools, the coaching and the framework, that's what shifted my structure of knowing, was that one session just grounded me to really check in with myself with the framework and that specific module we have, right? And it shifted me and it took a while for me to see where I needed to go, but I knew in that moment that that political world was not coherent for me anymore. And I did not want to live my life like that anymore. And I don't think without ACE and Maria's tools that she's created, it would have taken me a very long time to see that. And I would have kept getting sick with my chronic conditions. So it just wasn't that place of like mental clarity. It was also what my body was telling me, and that my body couldn't support that anymore, and that I needed to make a change. So that's my answer.
Thank you. I love how you brought that all together. How your incoherence is not only affecting how you're showing up to the people that you're working with, it's showing up in how you move in your own body. and that the experience of coherence can really help you just navigate the world and your work with at least 10% more ease, right? Who else would be up for answering this question?
I can take a swing at it. I want to build on what you were just sharing, Salisa, which is, I feel like this framework really helps you tell the truth. And there's capital T truth and lowercase t truth. And I think that was one of the other things that I had a really great awakening around at ACE, which was the difference. And yeah, there's a few things that come to mind. The first is, as a change maker, right? Whether you're calling yourself an activist, a community organizer, advocate, there's a very high standard, a very high ethical or moral standard that usually is a part of that arena or that space. And it can be like I'm trying to be really woke and really just like know all the things and be the person who's like says things in the right way and is up to date on all the news. And you can be really harsh on yourself. I can be really harsh on myself when I'm in that mindset. And I was for a very long time. And I was so harsh on myself that I actually couldn't stand to be fully truthful with myself all the time because I was so harsh. So I had to kind of let myself off and kind of ignore or like not look at some things. And I feel that ACE helped me do two things. It simultaneously helped me be softer and more gentle with myself. So I'm not beating myself up when I'm not perfect, when I'm being a human being, which is all the time. Guess what? And then at the same time, because I'm able to be softer and more gentle with myself and others, thank you, Green Lens, I can actually be more accountable and more truthful with what's really going on, whether that is what's the relationship I have with my body right now, and am I, being incoherent with my health, which was most of the time. What's the relationship I have with this, that, or the other person or organization? Is this work? Is this line of work? Like, I feel like I've been able to just pivot and tell the truth more quickly, get back on track more quickly, and then be able to engage with other people. Let's say they're not, in my opinion, seeing the truth, right? Seeing what's really going on. They're in whatever form of structure of knowing, right, that they might have. But I have to work with them as an organizer, right? Like, we don't see things the same. The coaching skills, it's like, oh, let's get out of the political rhetoric and let's like talk person to person, right? And let's like get down to the values and standards of integrity. Let's talk about like, what are the results that this is producing? Being able to create a space where we can like not be in a debate and just be in a true conversation. And that has been priceless, whether I'm managing a team or I'm training a group or I'm mediating a conflict. That gentleness that it allows, that like the ease and the grace, but then also the focus and the clarity. It's like both, I was able to sharpen and soften at the same time, thanks to these tools. And it's a huge, huge gift. So that's I'll leave it at that for now.
Couldn't have asked for a better answer, Maz. Thank you. So I was watching you. It looked like some of what Maz was sharing resonated. Anything you want to drop in before we move to the next question?
Oh, sure. I Maz is laughing because I love this concept of telling the truth and how simple it is as a concept, but it's not always easy because our brain just throws up all this dust and just all these thoughts that if we're paying attention to certain thoughts, it's very hard to just see what's true. And I was thinking for my own life, there was a moment it was little over 4 years ago. I'd just become a father for the first time. Our little daughter Ayla was a teeny little baby, and we weren't getting a lot of sleep, my wife Kelly and I, and just when I had enough active brain cells to be thinking about something that wasn't getting the next milk bottle out of the fridge to feed Ayla, just when I had enough brain cells to be thinking about what do I want to what's important to me in this time ahead, what do I want to do next. I remember I remember putting Ayla down to sleep in her crib. She was so teeny. I'm holding her in my hands, and you know, what came to me was I've got to do everything I possibly can in this time ahead to give Ayla a world that is livable and fair, and something that I could be proud of her inheriting when, you know, when I'm not here. And you know, the next thought I had was like, well, I've got to do something about this. I was on paternity leave at the time. Uh, and my thought's like, I got to do something. And the next thought is, well, it's probably going to be too hard. What will I do? Like, you know, all these thoughts, all the doubts. I'm sure as soon as, if you think of any idea you've had, you probably encounter this. You have some just spark of an idea, and then it's like all the objections, all the ways it's not going to work, all the thoughts that are really about turning away from looking at that precious kernel of truth. And I you know, I just remember in that moment calling upon some of the skills, practices I learned through ACE to be willing to just keep looking. And really, it was that. It was being willing to keep looking long enough to see, well, okay, if I want to leave Ayla a world I'm proud of, what is it that I can do, you know, specifically in physical reality, based on where I am and the opportunities around me? What would I love to do? To look at those kind of questions long enough to see, oh yeah, there's this organization I love. If I could do anything, I'd be putting my time there, and to just see that was the truth. That was the truth for me. It's not like a capital T, you know, profound, transcendent truth. It's just what's right there in front of me. And I'm so grateful for ACE giving these small, simple little ways that we can build our muscle to look long enough to see what the truth is, and then be willing to take some teeny little action toward that's in accordance with what we see. You know, it's like if you're walking along a path and you notice there's a telephone pole in front of you, well, the truth is the telephone pole's in front of you. I'd better walk around it. You know, just some small action that's obvious based on what's in front of you. And that got me here, long story short, to be doing what I'm doing now. So that was my little laugh when Mazin was talking about the truth.
Yeah, and I'm glad I reached out to you on that, because it's not unusual. I think in many fields, but I think it happens a lot in change making, where we end up getting engaged in work or volunteer projects that have a tenor of I should or I need to. And so what you're both speaking to around telling the truth allows us the grace to see, like, is this a fit? Like, this might have been a fit 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Is it a fit for me now? Is it fit for the change that I want to be experiencing, the next generation to be experiencing? And in being able to be truthful about that, then you can make a different choice and have so much more energy to contribute.
Yeah, well said.
Rodney, something resonated there as well. I'd love to hear from you.
Well, it's interesting. I'm thinking about the truth and also being able to see what's in the hearts of others. So one of the ways that this work has helped me is that as I've been growing as a change maker, one of the ways I would first become aware that there's a change I wanted to make was, oh, there's this thing that's happening and it's making me angry. And being like, all right, anger is sort of this interesting sign here. And then being able to put my attention more to go, okay, there's something under this anger that's really the sort of kernel of truth, the sort of results I'd love to see being produced. And I remember there was this time that we had a colleague on campus who was going to be bringing in a speaker. And a lot of folks around me were concerned about the speaker that was being brought in, because the speaker might say things that would be inflammatory, especially for students of color on campus. And we wanted to, and the colleague was also reaching out to us to see how they can enlist our support. So I remember the sort of big anger coming up about this speaker and then the person, and then getting ready for the meeting with the colleague. And then I thought to myself, okay, here's the red lens showing up, bright and beautiful, as it does, as it naturally does. And I asked myself, if I were to begin seeing this person through the green lens, if I could really begin to see what might be truly in their hearts, I noticed that there was a shift in myself. And also there was a shift in getting so much clearer about how this person is hoping that this speaker can make a difference. And I remember the day before the meeting, speaking with one of my close friends saying, I think we're going to have a phenomenal meeting tomorrow. Right? And that's a word that I use intentionally in my work, because sometimes people need the phenomenon of trust, of being truly seen, of being seen through a green lens for some sort of new possibility to come up. So to close out the story, when we had the meeting with that person and a few other colleagues, there was a moment where I was able to check in and say, based on what I'm hearing from you, it sounds like this is the difference that you're hoping students and other faculty will have by bringing in this speaker. Is that true? And the person said, yes, absolutely. That's what I'm committed to. This is the reason why I wanted to meet with you. And from there, I said, okay, I have a few ideas that might support you in doing this in a way that can actually make that difference. And we're able to coach on how do we bring in the speaker in such a way that the speaker is creating dialogue rather than creating debate. Because debate often ends up being about how do we make people wrong. And when we think about a social justice lens, making people wrong often keeps systems of repression in place. Whereas when we get to dialogue and we're learning from each other, I can begin to go, oh, this thing I was doing is actually not helpful to creating the world that I want to be in. And as a result, we're able to design a process and design a way of dialoguing that made that experience with the speaker so much more empowering for the speaker, for the students, and for the campus. So this is one of the ways that the tools have helped me, is to go beyond my anger, to get to the heart of the matter more, and then see what new possibilities we can create.
Yes, to all of that, Rodney. Thank you. And there might be some folks in the room that don't know what we're referring to when we're talking about the green lens or standards of integrity. And so these are tools that, should you join our foundational course, is ways of showing up to your life that might be different. One of the things that I loved about what Rodney just shared is what he spoke about regarding anger. Like, we are humans, we have normal human emotions. We're not, as coaches, we're not asking folks to not experience emotions. What we're asking folks is, how do you most want to show up in the context of your very valid emotions? And the outcome can be so very different when that comes into play. So I'm going to go ahead and shift to the next question on this. Seth, did you have something to share?
I have something I could riff on, but go ahead to the next
Go for
one.
it. No, go for it.
Okay. Well, something that Rodney pointed to that's really important to me is the opportunity to create spaces for creativity and design. Something I heard in what Rodney said was like acknowledging the upset and then pointing to who people truly are and what they desire to contribute, and then using that as an opportunity to create space for, hey, we're all in this together. And at a community level, that's something that I think is really important to bring coaching skills to. On my block, I hear the complaint all the time. There's trash everywhere. There are vacant lots. The sidewalks are busted up. Cars speed too fast. And that dang borough government is not doing anything about it. I'm so angry and upset with them. And it's an opportunity. I could collude. By collude, I mean agree with them and just believe the story. And I was like, yeah, doesn't it suck? Or I can say, yeah, I hear you. And I see that too. And I can tell you really care about making our community a space where everybody can thrive. Oh yeah, that is important to me. Well, what ideas do you have? And there's a there's a proverb, and I don't remember where I heard it for the first time. It was long before ACE, but it's very simply, when you pray, move your feet. And I love to amend that to say, when you complain, move your feet. And there's, I think, a couple of ACE tools bound up in that. One, it is not colluding with the complaint, the monkey mind. And then it is pointing to possibility for people, right? Creating that space for creativity and say, you know, it's not actually just the borough government or the people in power, that they're not just the change makers. We're the change makers. We're in this together. We actually empower them to do the things, and we can do even more than just vote. Voting's important. And we can actually just go pick up some of the trash ourselves. We might be able to do something about the sidewalks where we repair them together, you know? And then point to the opportunity for small, sweet steps of what could we do that is really simple and fun and engaging at the level that you are right now to move your feet or to get involved. Litter pickups is what that has looked like in my community. I mean, when we talk about community organizing, often we're like, we got to make this huge change with anything we do. And I'll tell you, the most impactful community organizing tool I have ever utilized is litter pickups, and sometimes one other person. And every single time I do it, somebody else comes out and says, what are you doing? Oh, I'm picking up trash. Can I help? Yeah. And then we talk about their vision for the community and figure out some next step together. So I love that idea of creating spaces for creative visionary possibility, even at the very local level.
Yes. I'm so glad you piped up. And you're already leading us into the next question, which is what are some of the memorable results that you've seen from coaching in the communities that you serve? Seth for City Council, yes. So who would love to speak to that one? What are some of the memorable results you've seen from your coaching?
I can go. I haven't spoken. I'll take this as my turn, and I might answer a little bit from the first question while I'm doing it. And yeah, I'm kind of so much amazing ideas have already been percolated, and the things that stood out so you know, where I see my work going is that I've been working both with individuals that are building a private practice, and also with teams that are wanting to collaborate more. And Rodney spoke to this, and I think Mazin did too. I think people want to play together. I think that I had that experience when I was a kid, and I couldn't figure out how. I really had that puzzle at an early age, and that's been my puzzle the whole time. Is really helping people play together. And so some of the ways that I've seen that in my work with these tools is working with small teams that want to shift from the hierarchy of a CEO with folks supporting them to a collaborative, either a co-op or a collective process. So I've been using these tools to facilitate. So I've been using sociocracy, which is one of the facilitation models that helps collaborative groups collaborate more. There are lots of pathways out there. It's just one of the kind of most published versions that I found. And yeah, just to like name some of the tools, using the green lens while implementing a sociocratic method, or really while shifting the power from one person making the decision to many making the decision, is incredibly unfamiliar, somewhat uncomfortable. And so having some handholds along the way has been crucial. I've also found that using the one-on-one time to allow people to off-gas their monkey mind and restore their connection with their heart has led to, I've also been working with some small business owners that aren't necessarily shifting to a collective model, but are figuring out how to empower their employees to be really happy at work. And that has been so fundamental of basically consistently enrolling my client in learning how to consistently enroll their employees. And enrollment, this has been such a key piece, is not sales. You know, it might involve it's probably going to involve either a money exchange or an energy exchange. Often with employees, it tends to be an energetic exchange. And that tool has helped me see my clients show up with, like confidence and peace and satisfaction with being a leader, whether it is being a boss or being a peer, but to actually get to the heart of it. I think somebody said that phrase earlier, get to the heart of it. I kind of saw that as like a restoration of who you are, and in being in the space with somebody, it's not their darkest moment in their life, but it might be their darkest moment of the week where they're admitting to being frustrated. And I think it goes back to this desire to play with others and how many wounds come with us along the way and disappointments. I know when I have been a part of a team that appears to be stuck on the same puzzle, or somebody's not showing up the way I want them to, it can potentially lead to that collusion that Seth is talking about, or a dissolving of the formation. And so to constantly be enrolling myself in that process, to enroll my clients, to enroll the leaders, to enroll the employees. I've just seen people be able to play, and they're not like, oh, I've achieved it, I'm now the best boss there is. They're like, okay, I'm like, I talk a lot about the bicycle as a metaphor to understand business, and they're not like, I'm never going to fall off my bike again. They're like, okay, I'm pedaling. Seth, the bike thing. I'm pedaling. I'm navigating this pothole or that hill. I'm changing the gears on this one. I'm getting my, whatever your kind of goals and targets are within biking. I'm biking to work more. I'm enjoying it more. I'm teaching my kid how to ride bikes. I've seen people enjoy it more. And I think that's been the shift. And I think that's the key to empowering change makers, change agents, is that this movement is going to take some sweat and some tears for sure.
Yeah.
But we're going to need pleasure along the way. And it's going to come from that moment you get when you like understand how to balance a bicycle. Like, oh, my whole body gets it.
Slam, I one of the reasons why I wanted you on this panel is because you do speak to joy and movement work. Correct me if I'm wrong, but as we've wandered the world and we've seen movement workers at play, or movement workers at work, we often look grim, angry, frustrated. We don't look particularly inviting. We are not a party that people want to get down with. And we have to spend a lot of our time convincing folks of the efficacy of what we're doing, the value of what we're working on. And we are human beings. We're wired to play. It's part of how we learn and understand the world. And so you pointing our attention to that and its importance in building movements allows us to, maybe experience more joy, maybe experience more ease, and how that reflects on our faces and our bodies allows other folks who might not have been seeing things the same way to look at us and go, oh, I might kind of want some of that. What is it that you're looking at or doing that I might be able to get some of that experience, that ease, that joy, that connection? So
Brene Brown does an example where she's like, hold your body really tight and try to interact with the person next to you, and it's like nothing, it totally falls flat, versus like opening up your arms. And I've had this joke with friends around the dinner table, like, try to be mad with your arms open, like you actually can't do it. And it's vulnerable. It's showing your soft underbelly to the world. And I don't think you necessarily, I know I've certainly pushed myself to reveal my underbelly at all times. And that's not necessarily the way I'm encouraging you to walk in life. However, I think there is, then Maria says it as letting the winds of life brush across your heart. That sounds cold and miserable to me. And it also, like, there is something to it when it's a warm breeze, when it's life. And somebody asked me to repeat about the teams. I'm happy to talk more about it. I'll just say briefly, there are amazing organizations out there that are shifting from CEO to everybody under them. That's the business as usual, towards a collective model where you get to shift who decides what you're deciding. There's a great book, Who Decides, Who Decides. And I think Chow Bani did it. That's like one of the big ones, but there's a ton out there that are using tools, either ACE tools or tools like ACE tools, to empower people to be at the table and to have those conversations. I think that's going to come up more in our conversation today, but really checking out who's at the table and supporting them and thriving is exciting.
And Slam, if you can send us some of the resources that you're referring to, I'll be sending out an email to everyone that registers, so that way they can keep learning from your genius.
Sure, and I think Holistic Underground is doing this too. So there's resources in this group of people, and my hunch is Zoe runs his organization like that too.
And I did want to take a moment because folks on the panel have referred to monkey mind. And there are some people in our conversation today that might not be familiar with what monkey mind is. And so monkey mind is essentially where your thoughts turn to when you are experiencing doubt or worry. So it's connected to the amygdala, part of our brain that hasn't evolved over much in the past 100,000 years. And when monkey mind is active, it's when you watch your thoughts turn from doubt to worry back to doubt again. And so we use the Buddhist term monkey mind to just demonstrate the quality of the experience when we are focusing on our fears and doubts and worries. So let's see, we've got about 15 more minutes. I'd love to bring up this question. How would you convene and coach different community teams together to magnify or message effectiveness? How would you convene and coach different community teams together to magnify your message or your effectiveness? And Zoe, I had already promised that I was going to call on you for this one. So
it's funny. Yeah, Raquel, could you actually say a little more on that question? I feel like there's a few different angles we could take on it.
Yeah. Well, especially considering the work that you are now engaging in with Movement Voter Project, but I think you've been doing some measure of this, and it's really about how the coaching tools have supported you to really foster effective messaging to the folks that you're seeking to reach out to, fostering greater effectiveness in the groups that you're convening to move into action.
Oh, that's okay. Perfect. So in the work that we do with Movement Voter Project, a lot of it is it's about raising as much money as we can so we can give it out to community groups that really need it, mostly very small, locally based groups. And earlier this year, we realized that there has really been a funding drought, and across the country, across the whole field of philanthropy. And the consequences of this could be, pretty negative. Could be negative in terms of organizations needing to, lay off staff. Could be negative in terms of electoral outcomes next year. And so I think this kind of relates to what several folks on the panel have been talking about. When you have what you might call bad news to deliver, it's like how do you point to what's happening in a much bigger context that's much more empowering, and points simultaneously to here's where we are, here's where we could be, and what's possible, because you're speaking to a group of people who fundamentally care deeply and want the same thing. And so we put out a very long memo publicly that we called the bat signal memo. And it is a memo to funders, big and small, that, you know, the basic message is we're in big trouble, and we've all got to step up. And I think there's one way we could have said that would have been very deflating. You know, if we were just holding it as this is bad, this is doom, you know. But the way that we said it was the bat signal. You know, this comes from the Batman comic lore, where when the city's in trouble, when Gotham's in trouble, they shine this spotlight in the clouds of the, you know, the Batman's logo, and he comes, and so we said the bat signal doesn't mean hope is lost, it means help is needed. And what we said, I think, was important, but I think more important was who we were seeing people to be who would be reading this as we wrote what we wrote, because we were seeing them as heroes. We were seeing them as, you know, the Justice League. It's time to get all of the Avengers together to assemble, you know, and calling on that aspect of who people are, that is courageous, that is capable of hearing difficult news and taking action based on it. And when we saw people like that, it became very clear, okay, first thing we need to do is tell the truth here, not sugarcoat it. Just let's tell the truth about what's going on. And then let's point to what would be possible if we all came together. What could we do to turn this crisis into the most enormous opportunity we could imagine? And to remind people, we've done it before. We know we can do this because we see what you have accomplished already. We have accomplished together. So starting from that place of acknowledgement, to support people, to tap into that aspect of who they are, that is heroic, that is capable and courageous, and from there lay out, here's where we're at, and here's the fork in the road, and it could go one way or it could go this other way. And wouldn't that be much more interesting, satisfying, enlivening if we all chose, if we were willing to be a part of that? And will you join us? So yeah, I think I'll pause there. Raquel, I'm curious, or anyone else, anything that stands out in this that's helpful?
I mean, fundraisers take note. Exactly what we said. You know, I think of my email inbox and how many times I receive, you know, fundraising messages, and it really is doom and gloom, and it's just makes it hard for me to even want to open a single fundraising email. And what you're speaking to is seeing the hero that's in each one of us. And what I love about what you just said is speaking to the possibility. It's like so many fundraising emails are about, you know, if you don't give $25 right now, certain candidate is going to win and the world's can burn, which may very well be true. And at the same time, not necessarily inspiring. And there's lots of candidates and there's lots of ways where I can spend my $25. And so helping me see the possibility of what my $25 can help facilitate, and seeing me as a key member of this team to help make the world better is such a different experience. Mazin, you were nodding a lot. What you seeing?
Man, I had a really great story for you for the last question, but sorry, we'll let it for last time. No, I was repeating that in my head. The bat signal does not mean that hope is lost. It means that help is needed. And that, I think, is just so quintessentially what the ontological space brings to the world of change making, is shifting from what we can't do to what we can do, shifting from what's not possible to what is possible. And the way that I've seen this in the environmental movement, I've seen a lot of movements where it's like all, code red all the time. It's always the final hour. Like, it has been doomsday on an environmental level for the last 30 years. So the last 30 years, we've had 1 year left, right? Which a lot of people now I think that the inflation of that leads to climate change is a hoax. Like, people use that as a proof point, right? So, we can only escalate so far. We can only ring the alarm so far of terror and fear. And it brings back the Adrienne Marie Brown quote, that facts, shame, guilt, and statistics, or something like that, are not very inspiring. Whereas if we can make the movement the most pleasurable option, kind of what Slam was sharing, then people will join with a completely different energy. And there's so many examples I can think of in my work of me remembering that and being able to bring that to a space that completely shifted everything. So yeah, that's good stuff right there. That's really, I think, what the change making, all the movements, what we need is bringing us back to that sense of possibility again and again and again. Like, someone has to keep us there. And I think that's what we as coaches are really able to do. The final hour, it's the whatever quarter of the game, and we're able to be the ones who are like, look, y'all, I know it all seems dire, but there is hope, and not some cheesy hope, not some sugarcoat, but this is really actually a reality. This is what's possible, and people can get down with that. So let's do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seth, I also wanted to tag you in for this question because of the work that you've been doing with Pittsburgh, but also what you've been doing with Radical Support Collective.
Mm-hmm. Frankly, the word that's coming to mind right now is amen. I feel like these two have really, really pointed so clearly to calling forth who people truly are in what's possible and their ability to do something about it, and to act on it. I will say something, maybe a slightly different read on this question of how would you convene and coach different community teams together to magnify message and effectiveness. A way to read that question that I'm thinking about is sometimes you bring community groups together and they're not aligned. They don't agree. They see possibilities. They're both very attuned to possibility and the future they want. And there's a perception at the same time that those possibilities conflict, right? That they bump up against each other. That's a tough space to exist in sometimes. I think it's rarely, if ever, that when you bring groups together that don't necessarily see eye to eye, that it's going to ever magically go smoothly. It's going to be an emergent process of communication and trust building and consent. And I think the one thing that'll add to that is we must stay so dedicated to the green lens, even when it appears that there is that conflict in possibility of the best way forwards. And something that I've noticed, I'll tell a really, really quick story. In my community work on my street in Swissville, Pennsylvania, we started having conversations about what do we want to see in our neighborhood. We have a lot of vacant lots that have a lot of potential, right? And we had a community meeting where people got together and started to brainstorm what do they want to see, and started to share it. So we had all these ideas floating around, but inevitably we had some people say well, I have an idea and it's a different use of the space than your idea. And some people said, well, I really don't want to see a playground because the kids are going to cause trouble. And what was actually really necessary in that moment was to unpack a little bit. What are the stories that people are telling? What are the structures of knowing that people have about what something as simple as a playground actually means in their community, or what something as simple as a parking lot really means in their community? And we were able to get to the point of working with Miss Rose to say, Miss Rose, you said you don't want a playground in your community. We really need more parking. Who wants to see a playground next to Miss Rose's house? Or actually, let me say it differently. Who wants to see a playground in the community? Actually, most hands went up. Who wants to see a playground next to Miss Rose's house? All the hands went down. And she was able to relax and see, oh, we can actually have some dialogue about this. So the point of the story is, don't just collude with the stories about how the possibilities might be conflicting. We can actually unpack those stories a little bit and see where we have some common ground. And that worked in this context on the very local level. I think it can also work at a bigger context, say when we have two organizations coming together, talking about how they work together. And go to Holistic Underground, or go work with Slam, or go work with some of the great coaches we have here to actually facilitate that unpacking, get some support.
Most excellent example, Seth. Yeah, it's not always going to be like, oh, we weren't in agreement and then now we're all in agreement, but there might be some places where it's like, where do we have commonality? Let's build a relationship here. Then let's dialogue about what we're not seeing clearly while we're in relationship, and then build and build and build. It's the long game.
And the common ground is so often just acknowledging in this space that everybody there cares a whole awful lot. Otherwise, they wouldn't be.
Yes. Gonna go for one more question. Let's see. How would you, as a Changemaker coach, work with groups that want to challenge systems of oppression? How would you, as a Changemaker coach, work with groups that want to challenge systems of oppression? And I'd love to kick this off with Rodney.
So when I'm thinking about this question, I often actually think about bridge building, because one of the things I've been reflecting on over the last few years is sometimes when we're seeking to make change, when I'm hoping to make change, it very much becomes me versus whoever my opposition is. And I've been thinking about how sometimes those changes actually do get made, which is important, and they're not made on a sort of foundation that will allow those changes to last. I could think about the ways that laws have been changed. So for instance, the universities now grappling with the changes that were made to affirmative action as students when it pertains to students applying to come to the university, right? So this was a change that was made and now has been reversed at this point. And so I think about, what does it mean to first coach a group to get clear about what are the results that we are seeking to produce? And then also asking the question of, who are the folks who are already allies that we can enroll and let them know, hey, here's this possibility that we see? Who are the folks who are diametrically opposed in such a way that even if we were in the same room, they may not yet be interested in looking at these set of results? And then who are the folks who are just in the middle, who they haven't decided to be allies yet, they haven't decided they're diametrically opposed? Because being able to bring in more folks to take an interest in this, I think that's a huge part of being able to lay the foundation. I think that sometimes folks are actually wanting to be interested in producing a set of results, but they haven't heard someone yet articulate what that dream or that story or what that vision could be like. And once they hear about what that vision can be, then the question becomes, how do we support them to know what they can do next? Are there any small, sweet steps that they can be taking to support a core group, or to even become part of that core group? And knowing that everyone will have their own set of answers of what they could provide. So to bring it all together, when I'm thinking about coaching groups, especially when I'm thinking about work on this campus, every department is in a lot of ways its own group. I think about, how can I be bridge building so that we can do the work of making a difference together? who are the folks who might be newer to the conversation that we could show a possibility? And then how do we invite people to participate in whatever way they can? Because then when they do that participation, not only does that result happen, but we create a stronger foundation for that result to last.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rodney. So Lisa, I wanted to bounce this question to you as well.
Yeah, so my work has been more with individual women of color who are working in white dominated nonprofits. And I'm talking like traditional nonprofits, like a preschool, maybe social justice light. So like direct social services. And so working with women of color who are constantly hearing racist comments, misogynistic comments, all those things that impact who you are as a person in the workplace, and you can't help but take it out with you. And coming from board members and people who are supposed to be leaders and they're not being leaders, they're not being good actors. And so those are women that I've worked with, that I've had the privilege to work with and coach. And one of the biggest tools I use really is the 4-box model, because it can really support that woman in the moment and the green lens to get through those moments and decide for herself, is this the right place for me still? And how do I challenge when somebody is making those comments about Black people, about Black women? We all know those comments about Black women or about Latinos having too many kids. So those things are really real. And they especially happen to women of color more so than any of us will ever know, unless you're a woman of color. And so it's really the 4-box model and the green lens and compassion for oneself and all that you're enduring in that process of that, for me, what I call can be abusive. And so those are the tools that I really go to the most to support that person in the moment when they've got to go have a meeting with the board chair who is a white male and displaying some of that negative behavior. So
thank you, Salisa. And Mazin, I'm going to come to you because I'm glad you raised your hand, because I was going to come to you anyway and then slam afterwards. But just to let folks know, so Salisa brought up the 4-box model. So for those of you who have not gone through our foundational program, the 4-box model is a mental model of how we understand the world. We so often think that we gather evidence and then we create a conclusion from there, but we are actually conclusion generating machines. It's how we understand the world. Sometimes the conclusions are helpful and sometimes they are not. And so part of our work here as coaches is to support the folks that we work with to see which ones might be getting in the way of the change that they're seeking to create. So, and with that, to you, Maz.
I'm going to share with you all the most profound realization I've had as a coach, coaching change makers when they're trying to dismantle oppression. and really it's that dismantling oppression is a project. It's a goal, kind of just like everything else in life. And so every ACE tool, like I've just found myself complicating it so many times. And then when I just come back to like the very basic nature of the tools every single time, just like, whoa, how could it have been that simple, right? So for example, clarity, focus, ease, and grace, right? Let me help this group get clear. What exactly is the outcome that we want to get? What's important to us about this? What aspects of oppression are we really dealing with? Because it can feel like all the intersectionalities is all happening. Focus, okay, where can we put our energy where it's going to make the biggest difference? Ease, what are some steps we can take so we're not trying to tackle it all at once? Grace, can we practice a little bit of gratitude? And the other, the 4-box model too, I just want to name that one of the things that we discovered in being a part of ACE and then have brought to the world of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion work is that unconscious bias is really just a set of conclusions, right? The 4-box model, you'll learn it when you go through the foundations course, but it's basically like you got your stereotypes, those are the conclusions, and then you got prejudice, which is using those conclusions as a lens through which you see the world. And then you're gathering that evidence, and then you behave a certain way, and that's the discrimination. And then that discrimination results in, that last feature is oppression. So that 4-box model actually breaks down the like neurobiological basis of oppression in a way. And again, it's a way that these tools that are so simple. I remember once I was in Malaysia, and this scene is crazy. It's like we're in the middle of the jungle. I'm working with like 40 activists. These are folks that are like, I think 90% of them are like indigenous, working in their own village, and they're each, and we have 2 translators, by the way. We have a translator in Malaysian, in Malay, and we have another translator translating to one of their local languages. And I'm teaching them the monkey mind. And it's the simplest, it's so simple that 3 different languages are happening at the same time, and everyone gets it, and they're all just nodding their heads, and it's like super clear to everybody. And the Christians have references from their wisdom traditions that like remind them. The Buddhists are like, yeah, we heard about this. The Muslims there are like, yep. And like all these different wisdom traditions are present, and they're all like, if this is familiar to them, they're like, I've never heard it explained so simply. And now I can talk about it, and and they're dealing with PepsiCo, they're dealing with Shell, trying to get palm oil from them. They're dealing with like big problems, big systems of oppression. But these simple tools are able to help them be like, wow, I've been red lensing everyone. Let me try this green lens. Let's see how that works. So if you're an ACE coach already, I want to invite you, like as someone, I'm literally always working with changemakers. I don't work with change stoppers or same makers, like everyone I work with is a change maker. It actually, they have so much of the wisdom with them. They have so much of the answers on their own, and really just being coach for them can be so huge. I'm pointing at Zoe right here, who's my coach, right? This guy was coaching me for years, and I'm dealing with every of racism and ism and whatever. And like pretty much Zoe is just coaching me. He never had to like bring in some lofty, PhD concept of like intersectional critical race theory or feminine. Like that was never, I had all that stuff in my head bouncing around. He was just like, what do you really want here? What are you seeing? What's the structure of knowing? What's your standard of integrity? Bringing it back to the basics. So as someone who too often makes things more complicated than they need to be, I'm from experience telling you, bring it back to your coaching basics. You'll go very far. Yeah.
That's Zoe.
Thank you, Seth.
Well, and there is this beautiful line about, I think the way I heard the quote was, don't let the simplicity of spiritual principles distract you from the complexity of social realities. But the reverse is true. Don't let the complexity of what's going on in the world, right here in this world, distract from the simplicity of principles that apply universally.
I wish I could just grab your head and kiss you, though.
Well, and that's how I feel about Maria. Maria, thank you for, putting words to these principles that have been around for hundreds, thousands of years in all these different forms, and just putting it in a way that we can take and use.
True words. Slam. I'd
I
love
will
to wrap with you. And
I'm
then
gonna wrap because I have the boogie too.
Yeah.
I will, and I'm so glad we got to hear from the 3 of y'all, because starting with the bridge, there's no such thing. You can buy a prefabricated house and put it on a plot of land. You cannot buy a prefabricated bridge. There is, and the tools that Mazin is speaking to are the tools that will help us build those bridges. That you can build a bridge anywhere with those tools, but you can't order a bridge to arrive there. And that's where I play, is like, you feel like you built a bridge before, so this is annoying, when in fact you've never built a bridge like this before. And so that's the move. And Celicia, we don't know what people have experienced before unless we've been them, and we haven't been them. And so thank you for bringing that into this piece, because that is such a huge part when we go to build the bridge with them. That's the juice. That's the glue. Those are the screws that allow us to actually maybe build it. That's all I have to say. And I have to boogie. Thank you so much. What an honor to be with you all.
Thank you. What an honor to have you with us. Zoe, Salisa, Mazin, Slam, Seth, Rodney. Thank you for everything you've been doing. Thank you for being here with us. We know you have full lives, full schedules, and you honor us with your presence and your wisdom. And
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so
Really.
much.
my
Really.
joy, my joy.
Yeah,
And
really what a joy to be here.
I'm going to release the, let's see, I think Greg is helping me with this. Release the spotlights, and then I'm going to turn it over to Greg.
Peace.
He's got something very special to share with you.
Yeah, before I don't know if all of our panelists need to leave. Do we want to see if anybody has any last questions for our remaining panelists before we make an exciting announcement and show a little video?
Yes, Amy.
Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be here. I hope there's more ACE community gatherings similar to this. It's been a while since I've been in any of the programs, but I just love the community. Wanted to ask y'all what comes to you when you think of slowing down. Slowing down is something that came up over the time of how important that feels in this process, in this work.
I'm sorry, Amy, could you bring the microphone closer to you? We're having a hard time hearing you.
Is that better?
Oh, so much better. Thank you.
My hair. Yeah. So I was saying I wanted to hear what your guys' thoughts on slowing down with all of this process and all of these things that come to these moments before and during change making. And many of us are such beautiful, very smart people, and we're in the modern world. We move at a pace and a rhythm of quickness and efficiency, and it always feels very fast. And a lot of things, negative things that happen can be very fast. Trauma can come through very fast. So I'm wondering where slowing down fits into some of the work you guys have experienced, and I'm just wondering about that spotlight on the slowing down piece in this work.
I love it.
Yes. Seth, would you be willing to speak to this?
Yeah. Try it. See what happens. You know, it's so hard when there's so many inputs coming at us all the time to slow down, even in our coaching sessions with our clients. It's like client is go boom, 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 boom. I got this, I got that. Help me with this, help me with that. And you're like, okay, I want to move at your pace and meet you where you're at and help you. I want to help you. And we end up going really fast. And I think something that's been a continual point of mastery for me is slowing down. Do it, play with it, see what happens. I could give you some conceptual, philosophical, I have lots of philosophical thoughts about slowing down. If you want to hear them, we could set up a chat, but I think all I'm going to say right now is do it and see what happens.
So I'm seeing you chuckling. So I get a feeling something resonates here.
Oh, so much. Amy, it's so good to see you, by the way. Amy and I mean, when did we meet? It was 6, 7 years, something like that. Yeah, thanks for asking this. And Seth, I love what you said. Like, yeah, let's just do it. What it was reminding me of is how, you know, so much of what I've learned through ACE is that if we want to do things differently, it's very helpful to learn how to see things differently because our behavior naturally flows out of what we are present to in the moment. I see Maria smiling and nodding. So what I've seen, and this is for you first, and then it's for anybody in your presence. If you notice someone around you is, speaking very quickly, maybe they're stressed out. I think one of the best things you can do for them and for you is to find something in that moment that you appreciate about them. And you don't say it, don't even say it, just see it. Like right now, if you just practice, just, try this out. Find somebody on the screen. You've got it in gallery view, I hope. Find somebody in this group right now and just look at them. Just pay attention to them for a moment and just see this. This person is a hero. This person has so much to offer. I would love to learn from this person. I'd love to see what they've learned in their life and just benefit from being around them. This person is contributing to me right now just by being here. Okay, so notice, what do you notice in yourself? What's the experience? You feel it because you just took your own sweet, precious brain and just gently turned it to see this very special aspect of who we are. It's true. And you relaxed. And by seeing it, this is the weird thing, and we get into it more conceptually in the ACE courses. But when you see that, the person you're interacting with can't help but be affected by it, whether they even know it consciously or not. They will relax a little bit. And I've seen it. It's weird. I mean, I've been doing this for 15-ish years, and it's weird still when you see this in people and they go, I don't know what you just did, but I feel better now. So try that.
Excellent. Thank you, Zoe. Okay, we've got time for one more question from Susan, and then we've got something really special to share with you. So, Susan.
Well, I do have a question. Whether I can articulate it or not is also a question. First of all, I want to say that this has been fantastic. I guess I really needed this today, and so thank you for offering it. I'm especially intrigued with the comments about the BAT memo. I hope it could be available for us to read. I find that in my profession, which is also within the nonprofit world and which is also very much focused on fundraising, that the other party in the room, the opposition, the problem is not a human problem. It's the whole atmosphere of misinformation and skepticism that especially around fundraising, especially around political fundraising, but it bleeds off into all other kinds of environmental and social good work. And I'm just curious about how the coaches deal with that elephant in the room, I guess. It's almost made me want to give up my profession of fundraising because I even no longer trust people in this arena. It's just being used in such unethical ways. I guess that's my question, if you got it as a question.
So Lisa or Zoe, would either of you care to?
Yeah, I think I get the essence of your question. And if I don't hopefully what I share with you will help you, will support you. So I took a very firm stance with myself when I first started purpose-centered coaching and consulting, which was the green lens in every single person that I was asking for money. Because this work is so personal to me. My coaching education with ACE is so personal to me that I needed to have that tool to support me, that when somebody just looked at me like I had 20 heads because I asked them for $100, that maybe they were jarred, there was something going on with them, that I did not need to make them wrong. I didn't need to analyze it, that the green lens would just say to me, this person is contributing to me right now. And so it does really help me with my anxiety and the monkey mind. And so, and it lets that, and just like Zoe said earlier, just even picking out that one of the 5 within the green lens. I mean, it's how I can ask for big gifts and go, this work is so important to me that I'm willing to do this in this really big way. So having the green lens lets me, okay, so that ask didn't land. That $25,000 ask didn't land, but it ended up being a $10,000 gift. So it's, you know, you that person is contributing. Let them contribute to you and don't analyze it. Just take it from a green lens perspective, because then you can really do your heart-centered work. So I'm not sure if that answered it, but it's been my go-to tool. Anytime I ask for a gift, anytime I'm writing an email, yes, I'm one of those people that sends you lots of emails because this work really matters to me. And so anytime I'm writing that email, anytime I'm talking, anytime I'm texting, any sort of communication, the green lens is there with me to say, you have the courage to do this, and you have the courage to show up for women of color in this really dynamic way.
Helpful.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Salisa. That's perfect. And actually, many of our coaches have worked with brand new Congress in coaching congressional candidates. And the green lens has been so useful for any kind of meaningful fundraising. So thanks for sharing that. We have a video to share with you, and I want to transition. I just, there's so much brilliance in this community and on this panel. I'm so grateful. I don't know if Dr. Maria and I have been on a Zoom call for an hour and a half, and neither of us came off mute. It's, you know, it's just, we're just sitting back and delighting in this. And I just appreciate all of the wisdom. And appreciate how people are using it to tackle big, seemingly impossible things sometimes. One of the ways that I've heard a lot of speaking about small steps, doing small actions. And something that was transformational for me is seeing this work as holographic. And if you haven't gone through our course, we use the metaphor of a hologram because a hologram is a special image that if you shine a laser on this plate, it creates this, let's say, image of a tree. And if you cut it in half and shine a laser on that, it doesn't give you half the tree, it gives the whole tree. And we use this metaphor for our life because it means that each moment contains information on the whole. And if you shift one small thing, it can immediately create transformation across your life. And this gives me comfort when I look at something and I say, there's so many things that we need to solve. There's so many things we need to change. But when I remind myself of this metaphor and see it as a hologram, it's like I can do something small and sweet and meaningful and with integrity now, and it has the capacity to shift things in ways I don't even know in the moment. And I think that's the way that we're going to use this stuff to create change. And it's been so great just seeing it, hearing people telling the stories of how they've been using it, seeing how much people believe in this. using it consistently for years. You know, people have gone through the program 10 years ago and getting to hear them show up and see how they practice it every day. So thanks for everyone. And we want to make a big announcement right now. Some of you have heard this or know it's in the works, but we've been doing a diversity scholarship program for about 2 years now. And without any nonprofit status, without any fiscal sponsor, just kind of scrappy organizing it ourselves. We've got $80,000 over the last 2 years in donations. We've given out, I don't know, I think about 100 scholarships. We have some scholarship recipients here in this hall. It's been incredible how much this community has supported this vision of not just an ACE, but you know, the coaching industry as a whole shifting to a more diverse, equitable, inclusive community and industry. And we've been working as a team diligently this year to obtain a great partnership with a fiscal sponsor. So they're called Angels for Angels. We'll share information about them. We've officially signed on for them. They've been really great. We talked with a lot of different fiscal sponsors. And so now any donations to the program is tax deductible. We'll share some information about that. We're going to do another big crowdfunding, and we're expanding the program. So we're going to continue to offer scholarships, but we're adding additional support to ensure that especially women of color starting the focus will get the support they need to be successful. And we're going to get some additional inclusive diversity, equity, inclusive training. So we've got a lot of big stuff, and I just want to give you a chance to hear from just a few of our scholarship recipients that have already been through the program right now. I'll do something a bit vulnerable. This is a draft. We're still in editing, but I just want to give you a chance to hear from people directly. So here's our video.
So the first time I heard about scholarship, I was so shocked. It's like, for my entire life, I have been waiting to take these courses. I have that kind of a feeling. It's kind of crazy. I feel, wow, I have waited for 30 some years to take ACE courses.
First of all, I'm very proud to be one of the early recipients of the program. To be able to get the support to go through this program was so significant to me because it allowed me to be able to make one of my dreams come true. I did not realize how much I was going to fall in love with coaching until I actually started doing the work.
It's such a great community to have, and even like being amongst our fellow coaches, we're constantly learning from each other, and it's amazing because we're all from different backgrounds, different cultures, you know, but we're able to come together with the common goal of helping people. I think that's powerful, and we help each other, which is amazing, and learning from each other is great.
One of the things I really love about ACE is you guys said that you embrace diversity, and you're not just saying it, you're putting into action. That's what I love about you guys.
Ultimately, the more diverse a field is, the easier it is to be able to get the message out to everyone. And so if we want the message of coaching to be able to reach all people all across the world, then we're going to need all people across the world that represent those groups to be educated on it, to be able to spread it.
Diversity is great. You know, I'm living in Nigeria, in Africa, and although like life coaching is picking up, it's not a big thing yet. People don't even understand it, you know, and having the opportunity to learn and to help people in this part of the world and even in America as well, it's such a privilege, because I imagine if I haven't gone through this training, the people that I've been able to help would have not found the clarity and the ease and the grace that they're experiencing right now, and so many more lives to touch, you know. So I think diversity is so important, because you can be in one space, but you can reach the corners of the earth without even knowing how much love you're sharing around.
If you are committed to really creating a more equitable world, if you are committed to really creating a space where everyone has the opportunity to really fulfill their life's purpose, then this is a wonderful program to consider, because it benefits people like me
if you think about donating to the scholarship, the most important thing is that you never know who you're inspiring.
The scholarships have been so helpful to help reduce the burden on me so I can actually focus on studying and learning. Honestly, thank you, Ace. It's been great. And I really hope that there's more support for more people in different backgrounds and different parts of the world. So thank you.
So if you really want to make a lasting impact on someone's life so that they can really live the life that they want to live and to be able to contribute to others in a greater way as a result of it, consider donating to this program.
You never know who you are supporting. And by you supporting them to be the coach, they can have so much of an impact.
Please contribute. You know, like, you don't know how much lives you're touching. Like, I'm one of the 1% somewhere in the middle of Africa, and because of your contribution, I'm able to not just touch my life, but like those around me. And I know at some point I'll be able to replicate what I've learned to many other people. So you are really reaching the corner of the earth from one location. So thank you for your contribution, and I hope you do keep contributing, because you're making people like me smile and many other people smile. So thank you.
Well, it's such a privilege to get to support people like these inspiring people and many more. So we're going to drop the link. We have a live link if you want to contribute, or if you want to share it and invite your friends and family and community to contribute. It's all tax deductible now. We're going to try to raise as much as we can for the end of the year, because believe it or not, we have people waiting for scholarships for the coach training program. And we're going to try to support them as much as we can. And we have a private foundation that's going to match the next $8,000 of donations. They've been supporting us since day one, 2 years ago. So if you're in the first 8,000 of donations, if you donate $100, that's $200 to the program. If you donate, $500, it's $1,000 to the program. However you want to donate, it's doubled, and every dollar of it is going to go to support people like this.
Let me just say one thing. First of all, a big shout out to Greg for all the work that you've been doing in getting this together. And what we were showing you is some of the raw footage that we captured. And of course, as we send this out to people, it will be edited down, but we wanted you to see the whole thing. So Greg, we wouldn't be doing this without you, and Raquel. Greg and Raquel, what a team committed to this this program. The program itself is called Empowered Together. Empowered Together. And our first project is for women of color. So this the money that we raise is going to go for scholarships to women of color. And for me, this is a dream come true. I know in the years to come, as I step aside from leadership, this is going to be one of the things that I'm most proud of, the work that we did, the work that Greg and Raquel did. And it's fabulous. So if you have it in your heart to donate something, it would be greatly appreciated. But even, whatever, $10, just anything, you're putting your name down as being one of the first people to actually contribute to this project. So we love you. And yeah, this is huge. This is huge. Thank you. So
thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for these past 2 hours, for this rich conversation, for being in this world. You're a part of this conversation because you want to see yourself doing the work that you do, that you're here to do it with greater heart, greater ease, greater joy. And I'm hoping that this conversation supported you to do that. And Zoe, I saw that you really enjoyed the title Empowered Together. And one of the things in my journey with ACE is I I found myself having a new relationship with the word empowered. I used to see it as kind of like, who are we to try to like put power on somebody else? And instead, like what I've been seeing is to empower someone is to recognize that they have their own gifts, their own unique gifts, their own unique tools, their unique talents. And that in systems of oppression that has been, there's been a cover on top of it. And so our work as coaches, our work as human beings is to support the communities that we love to uncover their own power and really bring it out into this world in a way that we cannot impact in their own particular communities. So thank you for being here with us. Thank you for your donations. Yes, Lisa.
I would just like to say that I'm happy to pledge $100. I know it's not a lot, but I'm so happy. 100 from myself, and then 100 from purpose-centered coaching and consulting by the end of the year. So, we can all do even like $5, because as women of color, this is more than an opportunity and a possibility. It's the future. And so to really just, as Raquel said, empower women for their personal gifts that they can contribute to the world. So I'm happy to be on your pledge list, and we'll make those gifts by the end of the year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Salisa. Thanks so much.
Well, okay, everybody, please go be great as you already are. We love that you showed up for this. We love that the panel was excellent, and Raquel did an excellent job moderating. So please have a wonderful rest of your day. Just know how much we love you, okay? Bye-bye for now.